let's go to AFC Central. Baltimore Ravens, Lamar Jackson. We're still doing a top 4 quarterback with him. He's the QB4 in ADP. Any thoughts on him? And is that about right? Do you like him over Kyler or Jackson or anybody? Or Allen in that for that 2 spot?
I have him at QB4. I don't think I would take him over Kyler, but I certainly think all 4 of these are very close. So I'm willing to wait. And if you can get Lamar as your QB4, you're potentially getting the QB1 overall. So I love getting Lamar late, especially if this Ravens offense becomes a bit more balanced. They added Sammy, Watkins, Rashod, Bateman, and Tylan Wallace in the draft. They certainly have the weapons to be a more balanced attack and, have him throw more. He can return to his QB1 form that we saw in 2019. So I love getting him at ADP right now.
And then Mark Andrews, at tight end for the Ravens. He's still a top 4 guy as well. Not too much to talk about with him. The wide receivers are kind of interesting. So, they go out and they get Sammy Watkins. They go get Bateman. They still have Marquise Brown. Brown's at wide receiver 44. Bateman's at 60. And then you have, Wallace at 98. You have Watkins, in the 70s. Any of those guys stand out as values, or you think it's going to continue to be the Mark Andrews show mainly for the Ravens?
Yeah, it'll be the Mark Andrews show. But I think Marquise Brown is sneaky. His ADP's dipped a bit, and rightfully so. There's more weapons in this offense, but he could benefit for there being more talent. Like he's the kind of guy, he doesn't need that many targets to hit value. So he's kind of a sneaky flyer later in the drafts. And, he really came on at the end of last year. From weeks 12 through 17, he was wide receiver 9. So he's had flashes of, having this, wide receiver 1 upside, a few weeks at a time and then disappears. So he's inconsistent, which, is why he'd be your wide receiver 4, the guy that you stash on your bench. He could hit this year. So I like taking him as the bench stash, whereas Watkins and Bateman, one of them could pop, but who knows? I just think they make Lamar better than the other way around. So I'm avoiding anybody behind Marquise Brown at this point.
Yeah, and when you say one of them could pop, Bateman could pop. Like, it's not going to be Sammy Watkins. Like, it's just not. It's not going to be, man. Like, it's over for this dude. This dude could not even pop with 50 touchdown league MVP, richest man, quarterback ever. Like, couldn't pop with him outside of, a few games here and there because everyone's covering Tyreek and Kelsey. Like, he's essentially like, He's washed. I'm just going to put it out there. It's a much lower volume offense with a not as good passer. It's got to be Bateman. I do think Brown has some upside because he's still the guy that would, like you said, get free. But you can get like promising rookies that maybe wide receiver 1 or 2s by the end of the year, or at least wide receiver 2s like St. Brown in Detroit, Dez Fitzpatrick in Tennessee. Like, you could get these guys after Sammy Watkins in drafts, which is like even a Darius Slayton. Like, you have guys that could legit be like a top 2-3 option for their team over a guy that's been that for the best passing team and still has done nothing. I'm ready to say Demarcus Robinson is going to outperform Sammy Watkins at this point. You could get Robinson after him too. I'm all the way out on Sammy Watkins. Give me Byron Pringle 17 spots later in best ball, and I'm not joking in the slightest. Paris Campbell. The names on this list, like that you see an ADP after Watkins, it's just absurd. Don't draft him. That's my advice on him. But J.K. Dobbins RB15, Gus Edwards RB41. Is that the right split?
No, I think it should be closer. And obviously Dobbins is the way better talent. Like, I'll give you that. But if you look at weeks 8 through 17 last year, well, after Mark Ingram was pretty much phased out of the offense, what we expect going into this year, the percent of team rush attempts were pretty close. J.K. Dobbins had 32%. Gus Edwards had 25%. So it's pretty close. Rush attempts inside the 5. Dobbins had 7 and Gus Edwards had 9. Obviously, Dobbins was way more efficient with those. He scored 6 touchdowns on those. And then when it comes to targets, Edwards topped them in 11 targets to 10. So I just think, and you don't think of Gus Edwards as a pass catching back. Now, Dobbins.
So Sammy Watkins is going to take the Gus Edwards role.
Basically. so, we expect Dobbins to, get way more of the share heading into this year, but, it should be a little bit closer. So I just love getting Edwards later in the draft. He could have flex value. When we're expecting a positive game script, if the Ravens are double-digit favorites, let's say, you'll know when to play Edwards. So I just love taking Edwards in that range. And then he has running back 2 potential in the event that Dobbins goes down. So I just think that based on the ADP, Edwards is the back to target here.
Yeah, I mean, RB15, you're talking about ahead of Josh Jacobs, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, DeAndre Swift, Chris Carson, David like guys that are like focal points of their offenses, whether you think they should be or not. I know people have different opinions on Montgomery and Carson and some of those guys, but the bottom line is like that. This is why I say I'm more open to a guy like Myles Gaskin at RB24, because I'm not sure Dobbins outperforms a guy like Gaskin, because yes, Dobbins does have upside to be RB15, but you're taking him at his ceiling because the Ravens have always kind of mixed and matched backs because that's just kind of the philosophy to keep guys healthy. And they're such a run heavy offense that you kind of have to. So I like Dobbins as a player. I wish he wasn't already being taken at his ceiling, but I think it's absurd that he's going ahead of, again, guys like Jacobs and Carson and Sanders and Swift and Montgomery. I just think he should be kind of in that, 20 to 25 range. Then you're getting some decent upside. So what's our Ravens prop?
Our Ravens prop is J.K. Dobbins rushing touchdowns. I have the line set at 8.5. What do you got?
Under, because I have it at 8.4, but we're right there.
Way under.
You're right. Yeah, no, it could go either way. I mean, it's such a run heavy offense that, he could easily end up with double digit, but I just think you're talking about a top 15 running back in terms of where you have to draft him. I just think you can't count on that from him, just based on what we've seen from how the Ravens are divvying up carries in the past. So I'll go under, but he's just he's a frozen pond guy for me, even though I think he's a great talent.